Okay, I have a friend who's just getting into USPSA competition shooting, and I told him I'd make a video on how to dry fire. So Dryfire is an incredible tool for improving your shooting and your shooting ability for USPSA, or frankly for any shooting endeavor you want to pursue. I dry fire a lot when I shoot this sport, and I dry fire when I do long range stuff. And when I was doing tactical stuff back in the day, I dry fired a lot for that too. So dry firing, one of the biggest benefits with dry firing is it doesn't cost anything, and the return you get for the time you put into it is huge. When I dry fire a lot, I'm able to figure out technique things that help me go faster or that are inefficient, and it's way better figuring that out in this environment rather than when you're on the range and spending a lot of money shooting bullets. So I drill things, I try new things, and I check them all with time to make sure that they're working. And then once I feel like I have something that I want to take to the range, then I'll go to the range and try those new techniques. But for this shooter, he's brand new. I'm going to cover some basic dry fire drills and how to set up and what you need to actually start off with dry firing. So the first thing is, or one of the first things is have somewhere in your house. I use my garage where it's free and clear of people, and you have a solid wall on the back, or a solid wall that you're essentially presenting to. I wouldn't set up in an area where there's doors that enter into the room in front of you, because the last thing you want to do is it's just poor handling, weapons handling, is draw and have someone walk into the room. So make sure you have a good area set up designated for a dry fire. The second thing is make sure you don't have any live ammo. It sounds stupid, it sounds silly to say, but make sure there is not a single live round in the proximity of where you're shooting. Next, obviously, you have no live rounds, none in the magazine. Make sure your gun is completely safe. So make sure there's not a magazine in it. Make sure there's no rounds in it. Visually check a few times. That being said, I said make sure a magazine's not in it. You do want to train with a magazine. And what I've done in the past with some of this is from my PCC gun. I have a blue magazine from my Navy days. Blue was inert. And this was my designated magazine for training PCC. I also would load bullets without powder or without primers, just with the casing and the bullet head. And I'd load these up and then use them to actually load into the magazine, so the magazine has some weight to it. If you can't do that, don't worry about it. If all you have is an empty magazine, that's fine. It's better than nothing. But nowadays they have stuff like this double alpha training magazine. Essentially, it has some weight to it, and it's perfect for just dry firing. So you have your gun, you have your belt, you have your setup, you have all the gear you'd use at the range on you, again with no ammo. Next thing you need to do is place a target on the area you're going to be drawing to. I typically use a target of this size, even from 6 or 7 yards. But then I recently purchased these little mini targets that you can find at Ben Stoger Pro Shop. So these targets work great. Now the first piece of this, I'm going to talk and discuss as if you do not have an essential piece of kit, which I'll get to when it's time to get to. The first thing we're going to assume is this is all you have. There's 3 things I want you to work on in the beginning. Again, this is a basic dry fire video. One is hands at sides. So hands at sides is a common position that you start in when shooting USPSA matches. So you get in your position, stance, hands at side. When the buzzer goes off, you then draw your weapon and present to the target. So for this drill, essentially without a timer, and that's what I'm going to talk about in a minute, without a timer, which is fine in the beginning to train with, you would just get in your setup, your start position, and then at your own speed, go through the actual draw and present to the target. So from here, in the beginning, warm up. And what you're looking for here, when I have iron sight or when I have this red dot is as I present the dot out, I want to see the dot on the target. And once I have the dot on the target, I place my finger on the trigger as if I'm going to take a shot. I'm not actually pulling here, but I'm putting it on the target, putting my finger on as soon as I get the dot in the A zone. And just repeat that 4 or 5 times without any speed to warm up. Once you feel warmed up, do a total of 25 reps. So 25 reps in the beginning will be plenty for this drill. One thing I'd like to add, this video isn't going to dive into the actual technique. There's plenty of other great shooters out there, way better than I am, who you can look them up online and find videos for all of the technique, because there's a lot of differing opinions and a lot of different ways to do it. So I'll mostly avoid talking about technique. That being said, what I am gonna say is a couple pieces with these drills is find a system that works for you and repeat it over and over and over. For me, for example, I'll take this part of my wrist and place it on the back of the gun, and that's a touch point that I'll emulate every time I do this drill. So do 25 of those. We'll write hands at side, 25. Next, we're gonna do hands above the shoulders. That's another common position you'll find in these matches. So your hands are here, and then at your own speed, you'll come down and do the same thing. Again, if you watch what I'm doing, I'm making every single rep exactly the same and trying to be as efficient as I can be. And once you've done 4 or 5 warm-ups, then start picking up the pace and start pushing it to where you're getting there and your sight might be off. Eventually what's gonna happen is every time you're presenting it, your sight's right in the A zone. Also, these drills I'm showing you right now are a great way to warm up and prep in the morning before going to a match. So doing this at your house before you go to a match, or in your hotel room if you're at a big match, is a good way to grease the groove and get ready. So 25. And again, this is just for a friend who's a beginner. There's a lot of other things we could look at doing, but I'm setting you up with just these 3 things for now. The next thing I want to have you do is reloads. So what we're gonna do here is you're gonna take the gun out. You don't need to have a magazine in it. It's a big pain in the ass to be dropping magazines a lot, picking them up, especially when we're gonna have you do 25 reloads, especially when you're doing that many reloads. So you'll start with the magazine, with no magazine in the gun. You present out, and then when you're ready to initiate the drill, you're gonna hit the mag release, get your magazine, put it in, come back out on the target. Again, so you're here. And just repeat that for 25 times. So if you follow these drills, if you follow these basic dry firing drills, and you do them every day, the next time you go to your match, you'll notice a huge difference. The next time you go to the practice range, you'll notice a huge difference. This following protocol or some sort of standard dry firing regimen like this is what will take your shooting to the next level. And you'll learn so much throughout this process. This is what you do. This is what you're gonna do initially, because you're not gonna have a shot timer. When you become really serious about advancing in the sport and making yourself a faster shooter, you need to pick up a shot timer. I have the Pocket Pro 2. I have a few of them because there's I have one here, again, my blue, for this, the dry fire area. I have one at my live range. This is the most important part of your journey, especially in dry firing, because this will let you know if the techniques that you're using or if the speed that you think you have is there or is not there. So the first thing we're gonna do, if you have a timer, you're gonna do the same drills. Hands at sides, we're gonna start with 5 warm-up. So you do 5 warm-up presentations with no time. Then after that, as a beginner, I'm gonna have you get into your timer, go to par time. So this is the critical piece of this all, par time. And you're gonna set your par time at, we'll do 1.6 seconds. Actually, we'll do 1.5. We'll do 1.5 for now. And you're gonna do 5 at 1.5. Now here's what's gonna happen. I'm gonna hit the buzzer. There's gonna be a slight delay. It's gonna go off. And when it goes off the first time, you're gonna start this drill. And you're gonna finish on target in the A zone with your finger on the trigger before the second beep goes off. Here's how to look. And you have to keep yourself honest on this. And as you do it, you'll know if you're making the time or not. 1.5 is not gonna be hard, but I'll show you. So that there is the start of pushing the speed and getting feedback to know approximately where you're at with these drills. 1.5 for me was plenty of time. It's a good start. You'll do 5 there, then you'll do 5 more. We'll drop you down to 1.4. Same thing. Again, your drawing, your red dot or your iron sights are on the A zone, and your finger is hitting the trigger as if you were gonna pull it before the second buzzer goes off. In this case, it's 1.4 seconds. You'll do 5 of those, and then we'll have you do 5 at 1.3 seconds. So each time we're increasing the speed a little. Do 5 of those, then we'll drop down to 1.2. Another thing a big tip I want to give you on this for the buzzer, when you hear it start to hit, when you hear it go beep of the beep, that's when you move. So start training yourself to move when you hear the first audible piece of the sound. So let me move it down to 1.2. Okay. That's faster, that's much faster. So that might be challenging for you, and that might be the speed where you're not able to get everything lined up, and you're seeing that, okay, this is too fast. So play with this in the beginning. 5 warm up, 5 1.5, 5 1.4, 5 1.3, 5 1.2 as baseline. If these are too aggressive, bump them up. Start at 1.6 and then go down to 1.3. If this isn't aggressive enough, then bump them down. And so just play with those, and you'll get to a point where you'll be able to really push that. And if you dry fire a lot, you'll be able to get this, under a second, 0.8, 0.7 even. But that'll only come with a lot of practice. And again, that practice will translate immensely into the actual matches and onto the shooting range. For shoulders, for hands above shoulders, we'll do the same exact thing. You'll do a warm up, probably start a little higher. Let's say start at 1.7 and then work all the way down. Maybe end at 1.4. And then for reloads, again, I'll show you what we're gonna do. I need to move the timer, but actually let's move it up. Let's start at 1.6. So here's what we're gonna do for reloads. You're gonna start with the gun out, and actually I'll hit the start button on the timer, and then I'll present out, just nice and slow. And so again, when you hear the buzzer, you initiate your movement, you reload, you present, and you wanna be on target, again, same concept, before it goes off the second time. See that one more time. These are much more challenging. You might actually want to start a little higher. Let's say start at 1.8. Well, actually, again, start with a warm up. Then 1.8, 1.7, 1.6, and 1.5. And it's okay if in pushing it, you start getting to a point where you're not hitting it. It's actually good to register that, because once you start getting the par times lower and your technique becomes more efficient, it'll be rewarding to see that, see the gains you're actually making. Now, this is a good place to start. So 25 of each of these. As you can imagine, there's a million different dry firing combinations you can do. This is a good place to start. There's plenty of other things you can do. Maybe we'll talk about those in another video. The one thing I would say, if you start keeping this in your routine, maybe bump these numbers up to 10. So that's typically what I do. I do something similar to this, and 10, 10, 10, 10, 10. So 50 for each movement. When shooting a pistol, I'll even do these same things. Even at this stage, where I've been shooting for a really long time, I start with all of this. And especially, I haven't shot carry optic in a really long time because I'm shooting PCC. So if I decided to start doing matches with this gun, I would go through this exact same protocol that I'm recommending to you. The major difference, again, would be I would have much more aggressive times. I'd start faster, and that's just because of my experience level, than I'm recommending you to do. And I would also do 50s. So pretty much when I do a dry fire session, it'll be 50 of each piece. And they become a lot of work. It becomes a lot of work, but the making it a routine and the benefits you get from it will be immense and a necessary part of your journey in progressing as a shooter in this sport. So Jeff, good luck, and I hope this helps. And if you have any questions, let me know. Thanks.